and wrote this column. Of the 6 quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round, who landed in the best situation? And do you know who he put number 1? Michael Penix of Atlanta. Yahoo Charles Robinson saying what I'm saying. It's not the worst thing in the world to sit behind a Joe Flacco for a year, or a Alex Smith for a year, or a Kirk Cousins for a year. Colin, but they paid him. They didn't pay him $400 million a year. That dead cap hit stuff is a lot of fear-based stuff. If Michael Penix can play and starts not this year but the next year, and he's playing at a high level, Atlanta's not going to be too worried about that dead cap hit. If you hit on your first-round quarterback, even if he doesn't play the first year, he plays the second, you're fine as a franchise. But this idea that what they did makes no sense. Last year, Atlanta had no quarterbacks and had arguably the best talent in the division and couldn't make the playoffs. This year, they arguably have the 2 best quarterbacks. Which would you rather have? If there's any position I have too much talent at, it would be pass rusher and quarterback. I can live with that. It can't always be about the player. It's okay occasionally if a quarterback's not getting exactly what they want. Even Tom Brady had to deal with Garoppolo for a few years. That's okay. Kirk Cousins is going to be a little antsy. That's okay. Kirk Cousins has gone to good organizations. He's made a fortune. He's been a starter. He's been on Netflix. You don't get everything. Brady had to sacrifice money in his career. He took pay cuts. This year, Kirk Cousins is going to have to be a little uncomfortable as Michael Penix sits behind him. Come back. Everybody got in their feels. Klay Thompson leaving the Warriors. And as I watched it, I thought to myself, this was not a shocking separation. This was not you and your wife are married for 18 years, great family, kids going into high school, and she leaves you a note, she's gone. That's not what this was. This was you were already sleeping in separate bedrooms. You'd been in counseling for 6 years, and it was a dignified separation and divorce. And that's okay. New CBA, older player past his prime, really expensive. Tough choices. I've seen them before. We'll see it again. The Warriors publicly almost apologized for the move. I get it. He's beloved. He's part of history and the Splash Brothers. But the truth is, and this goes for a lot of people in a lot of professions, Klay's going to a better team, an ascending team. He's a very shy kid. He won't be the star or even the number 2. He won't be the young ascending player or the star in their prime. It's actually a perfect spot for Klay Thompson, who at this point in his career is preferably the 4th best player on a championship team, maybe the 3rd. He still does have some really good nights, but he is like a Derek White, but doesn't defend like that for the Celtics. He doesn't defend like Derek anymore. At one point he did, maybe even better. And all of this is okay. This goes back to my opening rant. Real tough decisions. We all saw this coming for a year. I think people would be surprised how often that move that you're uncomfortable making, 6 months later, you're like, I could have done this 2 years ago. Here's Steve Kerr on Klay Thompson's exit from Golden State and entrance to the Mavericks.
Sometimes in life, we all need a shift. We need, just a fresh start, whatever it is, no matter what profession you're in, sometimes you just need a change. And I think, that's it. It's never easy when these things start to run out. But biggest thing is the relationships endure, the memories endure. Klay's going to have a statue outside Chase someday. He'll be beloved by his teammates and coaches and our fans.
Yeah, he is a Warrior forever. Marcus Thompson, you can look it up, has a great article on this. It'll get into your feels. But I remember when I started watching the NBA in the early 70s. It's the first sport I can really remember watching. And there was a backcourt of Jerry West, and Gail Goodrich, the late Jerry West and Gail Goodrich. Goodrich, number 25, smaller guard, UCLA, real scorer. And it was like the backcourt. There was also Walt Frazier and Earl Monroe in New York. I didn't feel they were as prodigious, maybe offensive scoring. I thought Jerry West was the best of all four of those guards. And then there were the Splash Brothers, the greatest shooting backcourt of all time. At one point, Klay Thompson was also an elite defender, both ends of the floor. You'll get a statue. You made a fortune. But the new CBA makes this really punitive. Here's Klay Thompson, a little uncomfortable on moving to Dallas.
I'm very grateful for my time at Golden State. But I just felt like, moving on could just re-energize me and do something special for the rest of my career. Sometimes, breakups are necessary to do what's right. And when I was watching the playoffs and I'm watching the Mavs, make a run for the championship, I just saw myself fitting in really well with this team and the personnel. And they look like they have fun playing with each other and they play for each other. And that was very attractive for me. And that's really all I needed to see. And there's mutual interest there. And that's why I'm here.
By the way, he's a perfect fit for them because both Kyrie and Luka can be a little ball dominant, and Klay is a perfect catch and shoot player. So Nico Harrison, very sharp guy running the Mavericks, literally finds an aged but a perfect player. Luka's in the prime. He's the star. Kyrie's out of it but still dangerous. Klay doesn't need the ball. He'll get you points, catch and shoot, perfect fit. His second chapter, my guess is, will be a really good one. Here's Jordan with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the...
Welcome back. It is great to have you in live in Los Angeles. It's The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, thanks for making us part of your day. First of all, tip of the cap, thank you. Danny Parkins, Ashley Brewer filled in last couple of days. Totally appreciate that. Jordan Schultz filling in for J-Mac rest of the week. How are things?
My man, doing great. Not as good as Rhode Island, though.
Rhode Island was wonderful, but it is good to be back. And it got me thinking. I would have every day to myself. In the mornings, I'd go take the new dog, go out. And it got me thinking about why I love sports. And talking to a lot of people in Rhode Island. One of the things, I was listening to sports radio in Boston for a couple days. One of the things I love about sports, the pressure, the adult conversations. It's not too mean to talk about somebody's age. There's a lot of pressure, and you got to win now. I was thinking outside of Andy Reid, Sean McVay, Jim Harbaugh, and Matt LaFleur, 4 coaches in the entire sport. If any other coach had a bad season, they're in big trouble. Kyle Shanahan has a losing record without Christian McCaffrey. That roster goes 7-10. You don't think there's heat on Kyle Shanahan? What about John Harbaugh? They wanted to run him out of town 3 years ago. You think they finished 3rd or 4th in that division? There's not heat? Even the rookie coaches. You get off to a bad start by Thanksgiving. Uh-oh, we got the wrong guy. You can even make the criticism in sports personal. Pete Carroll, though he has the energy of a 17-year-old after a bag of Skittles. He is in his 70s. That's an adult conversation. Not a lot of coaches got into their 70s and were at their best. Bill Belichick, 6 rings, even named a boat after it. He feels a bit like a dinosaur. You can have those conversations. Brian Daboll not only got Daniel Jones to the playoffs, he won a game with Daniel Jones. He won a game. He goes 6-11, he probably gets fired. And I think he's a great coach. That's what's great about sports. That's not the downside. 5 of the last 8 NBA coaches of the year got fired from the team they won the award. Expectations, adult conversations. Win now, you're paid a lot. Yet in the Democratic Party, it's considered ageist, harsh, mean to have discussions about Joe Biden's age, his mental acuity. I don't know. It feels like the president's a fairly important job. I read that people were caught off guard by his regression. You don't have iPhones? Grow up. Have a real conversation. People were having conversations and questioning it 4 years ago. But in politics, I'm uncomfortable. Not in sports. Not in sports. Dak Prescott. You make Patrick Mahomes money.